If you're worried about the Switch going away anytime soon, don't be. Both Nintendo and its president want this system to have a long life. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from Switch Force. Gabe is here. We got a bunch of good new updates, from things like Mario Kart Tour to new info on the Mario movie to this interesting tidbit about how long Nintendo plans to keep the Switch going. Life cycles in gaming are typically around 5 years for a platform, and Nintendo has been right in that range, 5 to 6 years. 5 years for GameCube, 6 years for Wii, 5 years for Wii U. But they're saying that they want to support it beyond 2023, granting it a longer lifespan than previous Nintendo home consoles, and that it could even be supported for 7 to 10 years.
Just hearing that a console is going to be around for 10 years is a little bit bonkers. And I feel like if that's happening, it absolutely becomes a secondary focus for them, right? We think about 3DS now and the way that is still around, and it's been around for quite some time. But obviously, Switch is where most of their development is happening now. So if that is something that is happening, I'm perfectly okay with it. But honestly, it does worry me a little bit to see Nintendo want to focus on this for so long.
Yeah, I think there's kind of three trains of thought here, and one would be, what are they going to do to support this for that long? A little bit of concern. Is it going to fade into a secondary system? The other two would be, one, maybe this hints at a refresh down the line, a Switch Mini, a Switch XL, a Switch 4K, something that would keep the general infrastructure, the general foundation for game development, and would also encourage update and upgrading in the same vein as PS4 Pro and Xbox One X. And then I think the third train of thought is one that doesn't really have to do with length, but rather, has Nintendo found their holy grail? Do they feel so impressed and amazed and at home with this concept that they just want to push it to its fullest potential?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they can adopt something of a phone model here, right? Where there's just a new phone like every year. I don't think there's going to be a new Switch every year. That's not what I'm saying. But just make the Switch more powerful, and it's still called the Switch. It could be the same platform, but just make it, run better and look better, because frankly, I don't think that 10 years happen and we are still playing Nintendo games that look like this. Honestly, at that point, it's just going to kind of seem silly, because Xbox and PlayStation do continue to push the envelope as far as graphical power. Like, Nintendo doesn't focus on that. They've made that clear. But they can't stay like at 720p while everybody else is going to 8K and things like that. Because remember, 10 years is a very long time, dude.
That's a real long time.
Yeah, 4K is being widely adopted at this point, and the adoption is going to continue to grow, especially this year. It's going to be a huge year for 4K. Xbox One X was released, and it didn't set the world on fire or anything, but it's still something that is interesting to people. So do I think that 10 years happened and we had the exact same version of the Switch? Absolutely not. Conceptually, yes. Hybrid system, I don't think that Nintendo ever moves away from that. Why would they?
Right. And that's a great point as well, and kind of was that third pillar I was talking about, of like, this concept may be the best idea Nintendo's ever had, and why would you want to walk backwards on that? If that is the case, I don't think they fall prey to the same problem that their previous systems had, of being mid-gen consoles that eventually were so outperformed, it felt like a too big of a chasm for gamers to cross. I do think that they will work on that this console cycle. I personally don't know that it needs to fade into a secondary system, though. I think the Switch could be the focal point for the entirety of this 7 to 10 year hypothetical console cycle. I don't know that you would need to shift it if you are making those refreshes, making those updates. At that point, it's just continuously being reintroduced at the forefront and as the first and the foremost marketed system for Nintendo.
Yeah, one of the areas of concern here that I would have, right, let's say it goes for 10 years, third party. Right, they're moving on with the popular platforms, which Sony, Xbox, PC. As they continue to iterate and grow, it becomes harder and harder for third party to support Switch if it stays a little bit too far behind. Even now, we see that they struggle to maintain being able to port these games over, and date isn't something that we see super often. So third party would be an issue going forward, I feel like. But I think that the Switch, as we understand and know it now, is perfectly fine for the next like 4 or 5 years, and then at some point the refresh has to happen, like we've been talking about.
Yeah, or maybe this is a plan actually to keep third parties. If they have a familiar system to develop for, even if it does see upgrades, that's something that Microsoft and Sony wanted to do with their refreshes, was to be able to maintain a consistent library and a consistent platform for developers to work on while upgrading the tech and keeping something, new at the forefront of their games division. Nintendo could attract a bunch of third parties with their sort of new commitment to that, and with the insane sales, as those continue to grow and the audience continues to build, does it become one of the biggest, if not the best place to make games? Why would you want to trash that, right? If you are able to make these incremental improvements in terms of graphics or in terms of controls or whatever they decide to do, maybe that actually keeps third parties, even while Microsoft releases, the Xbox 2 and Sony with the PlayStation 5. Those are new, but I get what you're saying in terms of multi-platform games would still be an issue. I think the hope would be, though, that you've built enough of a relationship that these third parties do want to continue to work with Nintendo.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. Another thing that I want to touch on here, and this is just a little bit more of a joke, but, when we started the channel, people would ask us, hey, what are you going to do when the Switch goes away? Apparently we have a very long time to think about that.
We are good. Gabe will be nearly 40 years old when this thing is done, according to Kimishima. And look, there's no guarantee that it does last that long. The best laid plans of Mario and Luigi often go astray, and there's a reason why past consoles have lasted 5-6 years, whether it's antsy investors, whether it is dwindling returns, whether it's some new form of entertainment or tech that has been uncovered. There's no guarantee this stays into year 3, 4, 5. Maybe they change course, but right now I do love the commitment. I think that's encouraging, that's promising, and it shows that there is an underlying passion behind the Switch project, which we've seen from the get-go, and that can only lead to better, bigger, and more awesome games for us to play. I think with systems that last for a long time, you start to get golden era games, and we already feel like we have some in the first year. So once this console is perfected, once this console becomes just a common development platform, we could get real amazing games. Typically, in hindsight, the top titles per platform do not come in the initial year or two. They come down the line, year 3, year 4, year 5. If this thing has year 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, we may get like the holy grail of Nintendo gaming towards the end of that span.
One other thing that I just thought about, right? Let's say it does happen by some miracle, a 10-year life cycle. We're 100% getting another Zelda. We're 100% going to have 2 Smashes and 2 Mario Karts on the system. Like things like that just generally don't happen on Nintendo platforms are going to have to happen.
Oh, yeah, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And I think in 2018, it's a very different story when you say you want a 7 to 10 year life cycle, because we already are accepting of the fact that the Xbox One has 3 iterations, right? And that's just kind of how it goes. The PS4 has the Slim and the Pro, 3 iterations. So there is no reason Nintendo can't do something similar, and that still would fall under the Switch umbrella. I personally am very excited about this, but let us know your take in the comments down below. How do you feel about a 10-year life cycle for the Switch? Would you see it being refreshed somewhere along the way, and how? When? Why? Let us know down in those comments. We'll be reading them. Thanks so much for watching, as always. We love you. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest and greatest from the Switch in year 2. We got a lot of years to go, Gabe, before this channel has nothing else to cover, so that's good news. And we will keep you posted. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/TheSwitchForce. That community is growing daily, and we'd love to have you be a part of it. For now, though, for myself and Gabe, Switch Force out.